Good evening. Welcome to WCTV 14 Community Television in Wethersfield, Connecticut. My name is Nick Hahn. I'm here tonight to introduce to our viewers a brand new show on WCTV. It's called Cover to Cover. It's an on-air book club where we want you, our viewers, to join with us in reading some of the great books around for 30 days every other month. So if we could get the guidelines on that would be wonderful. I'm an author, ladies and gentlemen. I am also an audiobook narrator. I record audiobooks for audible.com, and I write novels. And I'm a lover of good books. I love to read. I love to talk about books. We're going to do the same thing here. And the way it's going to work is there will be a call-in opportunity for all of our viewers and members of this club who will be able to call into the station with comments and questions. We also have a Facebook group page, and that page is called WCTV 14 Book Club Cover to Cover. So those of you out there who are on Facebook, I would urge you to go to that page, become a member of our club, and you will have an opportunity to interact with one another, to post comments and suggestions, and then begin to build out our community. This is a new venture. This is a new idea. We think it's right for the times. It's television, it's communications, it's social media, it's all the things that we're all being bombarded with every day. And most importantly, it's great books. Let's take a look at some of the guidelines that are used by the Oprah Book Club and how they recommend that a book club be set up and managed. First of all, they ask the question, why are we starting this club? We're starting this club for the readers in the Wethersfield area to come together as a community to read books and determine what you want to continue to read in the future. What do we hope to get out of it? We hope to build a community of readers here in this community who will be of a like mind and want to read books of a similar genre, of a similar category, and will be willing to get together on social media and discuss those books. The plan is, when we get through reading a book, that we will invite at random viewers out there to come here on the program and to be interviewed, and we'll talk about the book and what you got out of it. What will the members have in common? Well, the members will have a common interest in reading, obviously, but in this particular club, we want to concentrate on fiction, number one. Number two, novels, as opposed to short stories and essays and other publications. And number three, we're looking for some very rich writing, books that have strong plot development, strong characterization, books that can really draw you into them and can generate very, very strong conversation and discussion once we're through reading them. Will we rotate the themes? The answer to that is yes, of course. We will rotate themes. It could be suspense, it could go to fantasy, it could go to romance, it could go to various themes. As the members provide input, we will rotate the themes. Is there a price limit on the books? All the books that we will select for this show will be readily available on all the usual places. They'll be available at your favorite independent bookstore. This show will be affiliated with a very famous independent bookstore in Madison, Connecticut by the name of R.J. Julia Booksellers. And if you go to the R.J. Julia website, you can find any of the books that we are going to be reading on the show. Or if you find yourself on the shoreline in Madison, you can obviously visit their store. But these books will also be available at Barnes & Noble and on Amazon and your local independent stores as well. So the books will be readily available, in softcover, hardcover, or ebook downloads. So we want to make the books as easy for the members to acquire as possible. Of course, the books will also be in your local library, and that's always the best way to acquire them if you can. How often will we be on air? That's a good question that we haven't quite resolved yet, but at the moment it looks like we'll be on air twice a month, approximately every 2 weeks. And during those shows, I will be reading selective chapters from the book that we're working on that particular given month. Will we have a social media group site chat room? The answer is yes, as I've mentioned. We already have that set up. So you simply type in WCTV 14 Book Club, cover to cover, on your Facebook search bar, and it will take you to our club. Will we have a reading list? The answer is yes, we will have a reading list. And on the Facebook group page, we will be publishing reading lists from time to time to keep you posted on the books that are of interest to us. Which formats are preferred? Any format that you prefer. I narrate audiobooks, so personally I prefer audiobooks. I listen to audiobooks all the time. I never get into my car without listening to an audiobook. So I find the whole addition of audio to the books that I'm interested in adds a whole new dimension to my reading experience, which I happen to like. But of course the book will be available in paperback, hardback, ebook downloads, and so forth as well. On-air member interviews. As mentioned, we plan to have our on-air community members here live on the show for interviews from time to time. Author discussions and webinars. That's in the future. But the idea of having a webinar, a live webinar, where we will be interviewing an author of a given book is very much on our radar. And we hope that'll become a reality in the months ahead. Publisher-author events. Some of these prominent independent bookstores, like R.J. Julia in Madison, have some famous celebrity-type authors in their store from time to time. In fact, just last weekend, Hillary Clinton was at R.J. Julia in Madison for 2 hours signing books and discussing her new book, Hard Choices, with the people that were there. It was a huge, wonderfully successful event. Book of the Month selection by member vote. That's kind of important. For any of you people who have been in a book club before, a live book club, so to speak, you know that there's always an issue among the members to decide what book they're going to read on any given month. So we want the members of this on-air club to call in either here to the station or to email me. My email address is very simple. It's Nick, N-I-C-K, at Hahn First, H-A-H-N like Nancy, First, F-I-R-S-T, Nick at hahnfirst.com. And my website, which will also have information about the club, is also very simple. It's simply Nickspeak, N-I-C-K-S-P-E-A-K, all one word, nickspeak.com. So those are kind of the general guidelines that we want to follow as we move forward with this club. Now, does that mean they're locked in stone? Absolutely not. We want to hear from you, our viewers. We're looking for ideas. We're looking for suggestions as to how we can make this club more viable, more interesting, and important to you, the viewers. That's what this is all about. Since this is the first show, and we haven't had a chance to get any input from potential club members, I have selected our first book to be read this current month for the next 30 days. It's an absolutely wonderful novel by an author by the name of Claire Messud. Claire Messud has written a book called The Woman Upstairs, as you can see on the screen behind me. And it is a book that I learned about in reading a review in the Wall Street Journal last year, and it was also reviewed in the Financial Times Weekend. For those of you not familiar with the Financial Times Weekend, That's that newspaper it's pink in color. You can't miss it when you go into a news store. And they have a weekend edition with one of the best book sections I think I've ever seen. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to read a review of this book, The Woman Upstairs, followed by the first chapter of the book, so that you can get a feeling for what this book is all about and hopefully get intrigued and excited enough about it that you will acquire the book either in the library, in your favorite store, or online, and by the end of the month you will have read it and we can discuss it. So, The Woman Upstairs, a novel by Claire Messud, reviewed by the Financial Times Weekend. This is one weird book. It should be boring, since surprisingly little happens in it. The narrator, a lonely school teacher, should be boring as well. If anyone, it should engage only, one is tempted to say, merely, female readers. Given its limited parameters, it ought to be a small novel, a minor work. Yet, The Woman Upstairs defies all these expectations. The story is riveting, tense with suspense, and dark with foreknowledge that it cannot end well. The seemingly innocuous schoolteacher teems with an unnerving rage, a turbid inner life. If my recent sampling serves, this book is every bit as transfixing for men as for women. And there's nothing small about Claire Messud's new novel, which so well realizes an insidiously unhinged interior world that it constitutes a sizable literary achievement. Call it a love story of a warped particular sort. Childless and unmarried at 37, Nora Eldridge is what we once called a spinster, or what Nora terms the woman upstairs, the quiet woman at the end of the third-floor hallway, whose trash is always tidy, who smiles brightly in the stairwell with a cheerful greeting. Rather than pursue the artistic career she once dreamed of, she has squandered her prime on teaching other people's kids to read and caring for her dying mother. Enter Riza Shahid, a charming, beatific 8-year-old addition to her class in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Nora is no sooner beguiled by this young import from Paris than she grows equally fascinated by his parents. Serena, an alluring Italian, bursting with the same artistic ambition that Nora has all but forsaken. And Serena's husband, Skander, a seductive Lebanese academic, doing a stint at Harvard. Over the course of one school year, Nora involves herself intimately in the family's affairs. She shares a rented art studio with Serena and takes long, reflected rambles with Skander when he walks her home after she's been babysitting Riza, for free, mind you. Not only does Nora's own artwork take off, but her entire life switches from black and white to color. Nora is in love. I was in love with Riza. I was in love with Serena. I was in love with Skander. All of these things were true. They were not mutually exclusive, but they also, most important, did not, as far as I could see, pertain to one another. Nora doesn't want you to imagine she is fond of a family. To the contrary, she writes, I hated to think of them all together in the evenings and on the weekends without me, and with barely a thought for me. Though the obsession begins with an eerie purity, an erotic attraction to both the parents begins to insist itself. This is a textbook, unreliable narrator. The bizarre, triangular passion Nora describes is wholly convincing, but the reader is nagged by an increasing anxiety about the reality outside her head. How aware are the shaheeds of their volunteer babysitters' consuming fixation on them? To what degree are they consciously using her entrancement to meet their own practical ends? To pay half the art studio's rent? To enlist Nora's help in constructing Serena's ambitiously vulgar art installation? To fetch dry cleaning? To care for their little boy? Do they feel anything at all for Nora? Or worse, do they hold her in contempt? The answers lie in Messud's devastating ending, a betrayal whose exact nature comes as a shock, but one that has been well prepared for. The very fact that I can tell you without blinking that I could kill them, that above all I could kill her, says Nora early in the novel, says all that needs to be said. Don't worry, I won't. I'm harmless. We women upstairs are that too. But I could. It may be the shaheed's very ruthlessness, the quality Nora identifies as crucial to being a successful artist, that draws her to them. Messud's prose is a delight, full of artful touches, urinously bright mint tea, a powdery malodor, an ointment pink apartment. As aware as we grow that there is something deeply disturbed about our narrator, the author evokes full-on the revelation and release of passion. Nora rejects her former life of phone calls to her father, beers with friends, and jogging as the opiated husk of her life, the treadmill of the ordinary, a cage built of convention and consumerism and obligation and fear, in which I'd lolled for decades, oblivious, like a lotus eater, as my body aged and time advanced. She feels all this with the zeal of someone newly awakened by God. I felt and felt and felt. Nora is a type, and transcends type by realizing type to a T, nursing your mother, visiting her aging father, teaching primary school, always putting aside whatever she might want for herself. She is a model of female dutifulness. Yet, horrifically, her concept of liberation from all this tending and schlepping and coming, second to further enslave herself, to become another family's dog's body, to reduce herself still further. Hence the metaphor of Nora's art, miniature reconstructions of other artists' rooms, like Virginia Woolf's and Emily Dickinson's, tiny and derivative to boot. Meanwhile, Serena's garish Wonderland installation eats all the space in the studio and wins Nora's manipulative pseudo-soulmate depressingly plausible acclaim. Addictive, memorable, intense. Gosh, I guess you could say I liked it. That is the review, which I thought was a remarkable review, that was published in the Financial Times about this time last year when the book was released. I would like now to read for you the first chapter of the book. It's part 1, chapter 1, The Woman Upstairs. How angry am I? You don't want to know. Nobody wants to know about that. I'm a good girl. I'm a nice girl. I'm a straight A, straight-laced, good daughter, good career girl. And I never stole anybody's boyfriend. And I never ran out on a girlfriend. And I put up with my parents' shit and my brother's shit. And I'm not a girl anyhow. I'm over 40 years old. And I'm good at my job. And I'm great with kids. And I held my mother's hand when she died after 4 years of holding her hand while she was dying. And I speak to my father every day on the telephone. Every day, mind you. And what kind of weather do you have on your side of the river? Because here it's pretty gray and a bit muggy, too. It was supposed to say, great artist on my tombstone. But if I died right now, it would say, such a good teacher, daughter, friend. Instead, what I really want to shout, and want in big letters on that grave too, is hell with you all. Don't all women feel the same? Only difference is how much we know we feel it, how in touch we are with our fury. We're all furies, except the ones who are too damn foolish. My worry now is that we're brainwashing them from the cradle. And in the end, even the ones who are smart will be too damned foolish. What do I mean? I mean the second graders at Appleton Elementary, sometimes the first graders even. And by the time they get to my classroom, to the third grade, they're well and truly gone. They're full of Lady Gaga and Katy Perry and French manicures and cute outfits. And they care how their hair looks. In the third grade, they care more about their hair or their shoes than about galaxies or caterpillars or hieroglyphics. How did all that revolutionary talk of the 70s land us in a place where being female means playing dumb and looking good? Even worse, on your tombstone than dutiful daughter is looked good. Everyone used to know that, but we're lost in a world of appearances now. That's why I'm so angry, really. Not because of all the chores and all the making nice and all the duty of being a woman, or rather, of being me, because maybe these are the burdens of being human. Really, I'm angry because I've tried so hard to get out of the hall of mirrors, this sham and pretend of the world, or of my world, on the east coast of the United States of America, in the first decade of the 21st century. And behind every mirror is another mirror. And down every corridor is another corridor. And the fun house isn't fun anymore. And it isn't even funny. But there doesn't seem to be a door marked exit. At the fair each summer, when I was a kid, we visited the fun house. And with its creepy, grinning plaster face, 2 stories high, you walked in through its mouth, between its giant teeth, along its hot pink tongue. Just from that face, you should have known it was supposed to be a lark. It was terrifying. The floors buckled, or they lurched from side to side, and the walls were crooked, and the rooms were painted to confuse perspective. Lights flashed, horns blared, in the narrow, vibrating hallways lined with fattening mirrors, and elongating mirrors, and inside-out, upside-down mirrors. Sometimes the ceiling fell on the floor, rose, or both happened at once, and I thought I'd be squashed like a bug. The fun house was scarier by far than the haunted house, not least because I was supposed to enjoy it. I just wanted to find the way out. But the doors marked exit led only to further crazy rooms, to endless moving corridors. There was one route through the funhouse, relentless to the very end. I finally come to understand that life itself is the funhouse. All you want is that door marked exit, the escape to a place where real life will be, and you can never find it. No, let me correct that. In recent years, there was a door. There were doors, and I took them, and I believed in them, and I believed for a stretch that I'd managed to get out into reality. And God, the bliss and terror of that, the intensity of that, it felt so different until I suddenly realized I'd been stuck in the funhouse all along. I'd been tricked. The door marked exit hadn't been an exit at all. I'm not crazy. Angry, yes. Crazy, no. My name is Nora Marie Eldridge, and I'm 42 years old, which is a lot more like middle age than 40 or even 41. Neither old nor young. I'm neither fat nor thin, tall nor short, blonde nor brunette, neither pretty nor plain. Quite nice looking in some moments, I think is the consensus, rather like the heroines of harlequin romances, read in quantity in my youth. I'm neither married nor divorced, but single. What they used to call a spinster, but don't anymore because it implies that you're dried up, and none of us wants to be that. Until last summer, I taught 3rd grade at Appleton Elementary School in Cambridge, Massachusetts. And maybe I'll go back and do it again. I just don't know. Maybe, instead, I'll set the world on fire. I just might. Be advised that in spite of my foul mouth, I don't swear in front of the children, except once or twice when a rogue shit has emerged, but only sotto voice, and only in extremis. If you're thinking, how can such an angry person possibly teach young children? Let me assure you that every one of us is capable of rage, and that some of us are prone to it, but that in order to be a good teacher, you must have a modicum of self-control, which I do. I have more than a modicum. I was brought up that way. Second, I'm not an underground woman harboring resentment for my miseries against the whole world. Or rather, it's not that I'm not in some sense an underground woman. Aren't we all? I hope that gives you an idea of what The Woman Upstairs is all about. It's a thrilling, exciting book, and it's a great character study. We'll be meeting again in approximately 2 weeks from today. I hope that in that time you will buy the book, you will enjoy the read, and that we could have some thrilling conversations in the weeks ahead. Thank you all very much for attending this first edition of the WCTV Book Club Cover to Cover.